Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special review episode of Chibi Podcast. This is your host, Mr. Mister, and I have with me,
David the Smash fan.
yeah. And if you have to question what kind of review this is, we already know what this is, people, because today is April the 1st, and yesterday, March the 31st, was Godzilla vs. Kong. It came out in theaters and on HBO Max. And so you know how much I've been talking about this since we've been doing this podcast. I was going to see this in theaters with my brother, Hoss and Wari. So we're going to just do our review. It's just sadly just the two of us this time. Hoss and Wari couldn't make it this time, but yeah, we're just going to do a little. We're going to do a review on the film. What was good, what was bad, what plot holes, and everything. So yeah.
I think one thing the way we're gonna structure this is that we're gonna go a little bit like just non-spoiler first. We've done this before with all our other movies. Non-spoiler first, and then we're gonna go into spoiler talk in the second half. So we'll put little marks on the bottom so that you guys can skip the spoiler free, or you know when to get off. But I will say this before we even start, and I think Mr. Mister is gonna agree with me with this, is that you need to watch this movie in theaters. If you can, watch this movie in theaters. I don't think the TV, watching it on your TV, does this movie justice. I don't know if Mr. Mister agrees with me or not, but that's what I highly suggest.
I agree fully because just it's funny, the overwhelming size of the film, of how it feels. Like, one, obviously it's kaiju versus kaiju. The film is big in itself. The way they represent themselves is just gigantic. The sound effects is just huge. So I feel like you would be doing yourself a disservice if you weren't watching this in theaters, especially IMAX, because it's just a whole nother level of experience. And I'll tell you this much: I enjoyed it. My brother could hear me laughing, saying, "What kind of BS is this?" or like, "This is silly," things like that. And yeah, it's worth the money, the purchase to watch that.
Yeah, and so let's kind of talk about the whole movie as a whole. Again, we won't go into specific plot details, but just kind of talk about the overall tone. So, the overall feeling of this movie, it didn't feel rushed. The good thing about the movie is that I wasn't bored at any time. Like, even the parts when the monsters weren't on screen, which actually wasn't that much. Like, most of the time there's always one of the two of them or both of them together on screen. Like that,
mostly associated with the human. Yeah.
In one form or another, they were always there. So that was always good. But the little parts that didn't include them, the kaijus that had the human parts, I know a lot of reviewers have said that this is where it lacks, but I honestly had no issues with it. It felt like part of the story. It felt it's stuff that you needed to know. And I don't know what Mr. Mister think, but I remember talking to Boricua Senpai and Sexy Tank after the movie. I actually liked the dialogue, the little cheesy jokes that were in there. They're hilarious. I think Mr. Mister was kind of not feeling there, if I remember correctly, but I like them.
So I let this movie settle in to see how I felt with the human character sides of it. I enjoyed it a bit more than what I thought originally. I knew from the director, I can't remember what his name was, but I know he's directed pretty cheesy films. So I knew going in here, he was going to do cheesy lines, because you can't really make fighting cheesy except for one scene where with Godzilla and Kong, where I was like, this looks kind of cheesy, but it was okay. It wasn't like a fight. It was more like when they see each other. But that's pretty much it. But I enjoyed it in that sense. So it was good overall with the cheesiness of it, because they wanted to keep the movie, the serious parts with monsters serious, and the parts with humans wouldn't need to be serious, somewhat serious, and then somewhat funny, and I think it just worked really well.
Yeah. And one of the things that I should have turned off my phone. Went off.
Worries.
But one of the things that this movie did, well, I guess it tried to do, was it tried to introduce a lot of lore. Now, if you've watched the trailers, they talk about how there's this rivalry between Godzilla and Kong, and in the movie they try to expand upon that. But and we'll talk more about it later in the spoiler part of this video. But I feel like they didn't really answer a lot of questions on that. Like, there was just like assumptions done and all this other stuff, and you're like, okay. I think that's like my biggest complaint. Is like they wanted to introduce all this other lore that hasn't really been there. Like, Mr. Bizarre tell you, kaiju movies, these monster movies, that's all there's just monsters fighting each other. That's all you should go in there expecting. If you're expecting something deeper, then this is not the right movie for you. But in the trailers, they were kind of even going more. Remember, like, there's something there that's been there for the longest time. It's instinct. It's just like they're meant to fight each other, and despite them like teasing this and like putting like little hints of what their fights were about, or try to explain it, just, to me, it kind of fell flat on that.
Yeah. So there's two things that I thought of when that came to be. One was this was Legendary's final MonsterVerse film. There was no like for the contract that they had, so it made sense that they didn't go too much into it. It's kind of like how the whole Rhodey thing with Iron Man 2, where who was the new actor who plays Rhodey, who was
Don
War
Cheadle?
Machine. Don Cheadle's like, it's me, I'm here, get over it. Where it's like, because they knew they couldn't delve deep into the lore. They're like, this is what it is, and that's it. And I understood that part, because, like I said, this was the last movie for the franchise. At the moment, we don't know, and so they kind of went in that way, because there was a lot of openness to it for the film that they couldn't explain more, which leaves it open to that, and it makes you question more things from the franchise and the series. But hopefully, with the success of this movie, it'll make them continue on with the MonsterVerse, see what they can go from here.
Yeah, I'm hoping that. One thing that I think Mr. had an issue with, and I did too, was the music. So they brought back a lot of the old Japanese score, right? But they revamped it, or they redid it a little bit differently, right?
Yeah, they touched it up. So basically, they touched it up, ramped it up to 10. So like with Godzilla's old, I can't remember what the score is called, but
You know
it really, when he's doing bad things, and it has that really minor sound with the horns, was a brrr, brrr, brrr. Like, it goes really deep, and they made it magnificent. It was crazy cool how they did it.
But then inserted like songs that they didn't make, so not the actual score, but like inserted songs from like different artists. And some of them just didn't work at all. They just like awful. Oh, that, especially at the end. I think the ending song that they had, it sucked. I was like, why you end on this song? This is dumbest thing. I can't remember what the.
I felt like the director wanted to do like a Guardians of the Galaxy thing, where they was like playing old 70s, 80s music, and in my personal opinion, it did not feel like it fit.
Yeah, and it was a song. Oh, it's a song. I remember where it's from. It's from the Little Rascals. It's when Alfalfa's trying to sing to the girl. I can't remember her name. In the talent show, it's like, all I need is the air that I breathe is to love you. Like, they played that at the end, and it just didn't fit at all. Like, it was just whatever.
Yeah, it was shite. That's all you can think of.
I will say this: they did live up to their slogan that says "One will fall." We'll talk more about what exactly happens, because there's meaning behind that that we'll talk about at the end of what that was saying, because it did happen. But let's kind of give it a score right now to finish this part. So I really enjoyed the film. I had no issues, again, aside from the few that I mentioned. I really liked it. I would watch it again. I give this a solid 8, 8.5 actually.
So, for me, being a hardcore Godzilla fan since I was a child, I think it would be a little bit higher on my end, obviously because it's just how much of a fan I've been. For it being a monster film and what they delivered for everything on the monster film, the animation wise, because we didn't even talk about the animation, they went above and beyond. Because I know that the first two Godzilla films, because I never saw Kong Skull Island, a lot of people were very upset about the fights were at night, so they couldn't see anything. Whereas this had a lot of daytime fights, and you could see where they put all their money into it, and it was very impressive. And it really showed that like this is what we want to show you. This is the context of Godzilla vs Kong. This is what we wanted to see for all these years, and want to do it right. So I give it a solid 9 for being a monster film and what it showed. Yeah.
All right, nice. All right, so let's stop it here for the spoiler-free part. So now we're going to spoiler talk. So I highly suggest watch this movie first and then watch this half of the video. All right, so I'm giving you 2 seconds. 1. All right, let's go into spoiler talk. I have a lot of questions for you, Mr. Mister. Actually, that I kind of want to get your answers to and your insight on this. Okay, well, let's talk first. What you said before, you gave a prediction of what this movie would happen. Now, I remember in one of them you said that you thought that the Godzilla that Kong was fighting was actually Mechagodzilla all along, because they've done that before in the Japanese version, something similar to that. That didn't happen in this movie. I mean, we obviously saw Mechagodzilla, but what were parts in this movie that you saw that I don't want to say surprising. I don't think anything surprised you too much, but I guess you're just kind of like, huh, interesting. Like you just weren't expecting.
That's a tough one. The one I wasn't expecting was, I guess the home world of Kong, like in Hollow Earth, like that there was like kind of, I guess, like a pseudo shrine or a castle or a coliseum. I didn't think that was gonna be it. I thought it was gonna be more like it's a cave. Here's some pictures, or like here's some bones. So that's what really threw me off. Was like, okay, so there's more to it here, which is not bad. And then
well, that part was odd too, because like the whole part of that subplot was that Kong is trying to go home, but we don't. I mean, I guess that place doesn't feel homey. Like, doesn't feel like it was a place where his ancestors or his family were at one point for a while. Like it looked more like you said, like a shrine, or like a place of worship, or a place of some sort of rituals that took place. And I was thinking that and you were thinking this too probably, that the axe or whatever that Kong has like was probably taken off of one of Godzilla's ancestors' scales,
dorsal fin,
and forged as a weapon. But they never really specifically said that. I guess it kind of alluded to it with that whole thing where he places the axe on the floor and it illuminates and it makes the figure of Godzilla.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But again, like, that didn't explain anything, right?
Yeah, like I said, they dipped their toes into the lore, but they couldn't give us much of anything because, like I said, that this was the final film for the MonsterVerse franchise, and I think they teased us, and I think that they were betting that this would succeed in the sense of they'll continue it, and I could see them going more into the lore of Godzilla and Kong and Hollow Earth.
Okay. I want to bring up actually another gripe that I had that I didn't want to put in the spoiler-free one, but this is the thing that it's okay. I don't want to judge kaiju movies that badly, because most of the time it's just they come out of nowhere and the humans don't have much interaction. Right? They don't get involved too much aside from them trying to prevent the monster from doing damage, right? So the whole premise of this is that they're using Kong to fight Godzilla. Now, Kong is not one that's like he doesn't seem like he's one to like be controlled by humans, even though at some point that's what they're trying to do. But like 2 times, okay, the first time they somehow sedate this monster, this kaiju, somehow get him on a boat, and he seems so docile being right there. I mean, granted, he has a girl that's supposed to be able to calm him down, but I mean, he's sedated. I mean, how they got him on there, I don't know. And then the second thing is like they somehow get a net under him because he gets beat up by Godzilla. They somehow get a net under him somehow, I don't know how, and then carry him all the way to Antarctica. Like, just those small little details that just don't show how they got there kind of made me think, how the heck is Kong like letting him do this? Like, the first one I don't understand. The second one I can kind of understand because Kong was fighting outside of his element. He was fighting in the water, and he would have gotten killed had it not been for the humans to shoot those missiles or whatever, or those torpedoes. I don't know what they weren't those hydrogen or those oxygen ones, but
there was some kind of naval kind of missile type thing that shoots up into the air down. So
yeah,
something like that.
But that was like my only thing. I'm like, how did they like get him? When did they get this net that can hold this hundreds of thousands of pound monkey,
multi-ton pound monkey
gorilla, and get them to Antarctica? Like, that just doesn't seem they tried to. I mean, again, I know it's a monster movie and I've shut my brain off, but just those small little things with the human interaction just kind of made me think, I don't know how you explain this.
I understand you there. That's the beauty of cinematography. They don't need to explain that, and that's where it can get points docked for people. That's where like people who have those who are very stern reviewers or aggressive reviewers, where they say this doesn't make sense, but it's like, it's a monster film, it's not going to make sense. But yeah, I do agree with you there to that point where it's like, okay, how did they get him here? Like, how did they get him to do this? And the best answer I could think of was like, okay, the girl, pretty much, she did something. She told him, hey, it's okay, stay right here. Put him to sleep, and that was it. Okay. That's the best thing I could think of.
How do you feel about, they basically made Kong the protagonist and made Godzilla the antagonist. Now, that's par for course on most Godzilla movies, right? That's usually how it is. But and later on, like, he is the protagonist because he fights the other monsters, not necessarily to defend humanity, but just because he wants to fight them, or they're trespassing on his land or whatever. And in this series of Godzilla movies, he's been seen as someone who needs to make things balanced. So they see him as a savior, and so now he's not acting that way. So how did you feel like them kind of turning this for this final movie, and him not actually being as much in the movie as I was expecting? I was expecting him to be a little bit more, but
so in this film, I felt like they did it in the traditional Godzilla sense, where in like the older films back in the 50s, 60s, he was a threat. He was the bad guy, and he was something you wanted to watch out for. And then when he was coming, it was something to fear. And they did that perfectly. Perfect. When the little girl, she sensed something was off when they first see Godzilla versus Kong, and she could hear him charging up already, or she can hear him through the water, which makes it so she can feel vibrations, basically, the girl. And the fear she had in her eyes, and then wanting to warn him, like, you got to let Kong out, was really good. And just the aggression that Godzilla had was insane, because when he first makes his appearances right in the beginning of the film, and he's heading to Florida, and he is pissed. He's just comes in, guns ablazing, destroying things, because he's trying to get to the Apex. I can't remember the rest of the Apex Enterprise to destroy something. We don't know what's going on, but they kind of give you hints throughout the film in the beginning. I liked it because they obviously tried to make him they're showing him as the antagonist and showing like what he could be as a truly devastating monster, like an unstoppable force. And I really liked that. It was cool to see like just how scary he could be.
I think what I liked about this is that they okay. The funniest thing is, like, in the beginning of the movie, they seriously were promoting this fight as like a pay-per-view fight, like the way they're talking, the way like. But the funny thing is that Kong gets his butt whipped twice, And
Yeah, absolutely devastated.
yeah, it is Godzilla clearly is a lot stronger than Kong
Well,
because
look at his title belt. Like, look, I mean, not his title belt, but like, look at his record underneath him. He's gotten against Mutos that have been known to kill Godzillas. He's gone against Ghidorah, who is an alien sub creature, taking that out. He can go through he can blast a hole to the earth to Hollow Earth, you know, and he's just this unstoppable force of nature, and Godzilla's just and then King Kong's just an ape with no special ability.
And what was interesting is like, yeah, Godzilla. I mean, yeah, Kong is actually really strong, but it's just funny they make it seem like he is a rival to Godzilla, and I guess in some ways he is, but again, he needs help. Like in the first fight in the water, like he was gonna drown, and he was about to drown, and the human saved him. In the second fight, it's funny because he climbs up from the hole that Godzilla makes, and he climbs all the way up, and he has a little axe thing, and it absorbs Godzilla's atomic breath, and then he hits Godzilla with it. Now, I don't know if this is lore, so you correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mister, but like, can he get hurt by his own like attack that way? Because it looks like he did hit him, but it looked like it was like a power, like when two things clash, and it really couldn't kill Godzilla. Like it clashed and it hit both of them, and blasted them each other way, like in opposite
it would
direction.
harm him aggressively for sure. It would harm him to a point.
But I don't think it would kill him, right? Because that hit was on his head. It should have sliced through.
Yeah, like I said, like from this film, there's a lot of continuity things or some like ass pulls where I was like, okay, because when I saw that part in the trailer, I was when I originally thought that was Mechagodzilla, I was like, okay, that's gonna break open his face, is gonna show Godzilla, or at least show that did damage. Didn't really show any damage to Godzilla. Like he got scuffed up and bruised. The person who showed the most damage was Kong. Like he has scars on his chest now from Godzilla, like stomping on him, scratching him, black eye, you know, and yeah, like it shows like on those, but with Godzilla, it didn't show much damage to him, which was weird.
Yeah, and this is what, like the part we're talking about. This was a clear winner. Like Godzilla, like starts scratching his chest, pounds on his chest, no, steps on his chest, and basically
roars at him.
Yeah, basically kills Kong because he sees that Kong can't do anything, and even Kong tries to stand up. He's kind of like the guy that's like, no wait, I didn't hear no bell, but he can't get up and he just falls back down. And he's gonna die. Like,
yeah.
And then this is the funny thing. Again, continuity things. I just like to point them out. Is this is nighttime, and then all of a sudden it's now daytime, and we haven't talked too much about Mechagodzilla, but Mechagodzilla is cool. But daytime comes out, and he goes berserk because they didn't explain this, but they're using Ghidorah's skull, and that the fact that the way that their heads talk to each other was through telepathy, and they're trying to use that to control the mecha that they built, the Mechagodzilla. But then there's like this power surge because they get the power source from the Earth, the Hollow Earth, and I don't know how to explain it because I didn't explain that either. So I don't know, but it's experimental. They don't know how to use it, but they try and use it quickly, and it basically fries Aizawa, who's in the Ghidorah skull, and it basically the Mechagodzilla becomes self-aware. I'm thinking it kind of took the Ghidorah's mentality or something, and that's why it went berserk and just kind of went on its out. Now, here's my thing. I know Mechagodzilla is strong, right? We've seen that in kaiju movies before, but this mecha, at least from what I've seen, was way stronger, way stronger than Godzilla. Now, how did you feel about that, Mr. Mister?
That Mechagodzilla was way stronger.
Yeah, he didn't give Godzilla time to breathe. Like Godzilla couldn't really do anything. In the beginning, they were kind of fighting, but then when they had that whole Dragon Ball Z atomic breath, Goku vs Vegeta blast, and Mechagodzilla just basically took over. Like I was like, what's going on here? Why are they making Godzilla like a chump? Because Godzilla can regenerate, right? So I don't know. And time has passed. Some hours have passed. So I don't know how long it takes for him to regenerate or to get back to like 100%. But do you feel that that wouldn't have mattered. That Mechagodzilla, if fighting Godzilla at 100%, would still take down Godzilla the way that he did in the movie?
Mm, mm, if Mechagodzilla wasn't 100%, I think it would be more of an even fight. With how Mechagodzilla has the power from where Hollow Earth had, and they were able to duplicate it because they showed you how strong he was at 40%. So getting him to 100% and then having the mindset of Ghidorah made him an absolute threat.
So do you think that Godzilla couldn't have won? Had
Most likely
Kong
wouldn't have
not?
won. No, he wouldn't have won. He was getting absolutely blasted.
Okay, and then here's the thing. So Kong is the one that ends up defeating Mechagodzilla, but it's not. It was cool because they did like a whole tag team fight with Mechagodzilla. Like Kong and Godzilla were like taking him down for a bit, but then Mechagodzilla still was able to take them both on, and it wasn't until Kong is getting pinned and Godzilla shoots his atomic breath at the axe that Kong has, and the fact that the kids, so Millie Bobby Brown, the guy from Deadpool, and the other dude, they're able to like short circuit that the power went up for just like enough time to Kong to use the axe to like kill Mechagodzilla. And so again, this was showing that, I guess this part I guess didn't like, it was showing that if it weren't for the humans, these monsters would have died. And
yeah,
I you've seen more movies than I have. I personally didn't like it that much. That's the route that they went. That it wasn't because of them working together. It was the fact that there was human intervention that made them they were able to win. So how did you feel?
I felt like, yeah, I kind of felt the same way. I was like, okay, especially for Kong, he had a lot of help from the humans in order to at least stand a chance against Godzilla, and that was kind of annoying. But I understood why. It's because like, well, obviously Kong doesn't have any powers besides him being smart, I guess. But he's still, obviously, the age difference between Godzilla and Kong is gigantic, because we don't know how long Godzilla's been around, but he's been around for a minute, and Kong is maybe pushing 100 years old, and he's only been on Skull Island. He's been sheltered aggressively, so that we don't know what he could, how dangerous of a threat he can be. So just those kinds of things. Yeah, like they needed the human interaction to give Kong a fighting chance. Is what they needed.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess like in the movie, like when I was watching it, didn't bother me, and it still doesn't bother me too much. I was just like, I would think it would have been a little bit better had them both been able to do something to destroy him, and it wasn't because of this small little power surge thing. But that's just me. But again, overall, I liked it, and in the end, like I said, so Kong did fall, both by strength from Godzilla because he was about to die, and also literally because he now lives on Hollow Earth, because that's how it ends. So he like did fall, I guess, kind of in two ways, and so that's kind of how it ends. On this note that Kong, I don't think, is ever gonna go back up or challenge Godzilla in any way. At least that's what it looks like. And
Yeah, it shows that what's it called? That Godzilla sees him in I guess you could say he sees him as an equal, because he didn't want to fight him at the end. He just kind of showed him, okay.
No, he did. Remember, because he was about to fight him, but then that's why Kong dropped the axe, and that's when Godzilla was like, and then walked away and went back into the ocean.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So he was still showing like, Kong, like, you have that, then I have to take you out, and Kong's like, this is not worth it. Fudge this. And he just throws it on the ground.
Well, yeah, because Kong knows.
Yeah, Kong knows his place. He knows that Godzilla is king of monsters, and it clearly shows. So, but yeah, But I think the biggest travesty. And I know we've been talking a lot about like the, I guess, shortcomings of the film, but don't be misled. Like I still like everything. All the fights, the choreography that they did in this movie was sick. But the biggest thing, and I think Mr. agrees with me more, is that they did not play the song that was in the trailer. So this is from Chris Classic, and the song's called "Here We Go." They didn't play that at all, and I was so hyped to hear that at one point. I wish they would have played at least when they fought in Hong Kong, when they're fighting at night, because that would have been awesome.
It's a very, because like we were discussing earlier, this was like a WWE film, or like a WWE, like, you know, pay-per-view fight, like you're hyped up, and it would have been a lot cooler if they did that.
Yeah, but I mean, the fights choreography was sick. The lights in Hong Kong when they're fighting was cool. Mechagodzilla was actually pretty awesome. Like watching him fight, like the Mechagodzilla we've seen before, they kind of remind you of, if you've seen Power Rangers, that's kind of what he looked like back then. And so now with the technology they have, like he fought more fluidly. He didn't fight like the Zords in Power Rangers, and just was pretty freaking awesome to watch. So yeah, can't say enough about that. It was such a great movie. I'm gonna watch it again on HBO Max. I'm pretty sure Mr. will too. But yeah, any final words, Mr. Anything to the Godzilla fans or the Kong fans?
It's going to appease the fans for sure. If you're expecting, you know, Godzilla versus Kong fights and you're wanting it to be nice and good, that's what you're gonna get.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's it for this video. It was a little bit long, but there was a lot to discuss. So let us know what you thought about the movie. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us if we're wrong. Tell us if it was horrible, or maybe if you liked more, or if you want to know more about some little tidbits, because Mr. has all these little tidbits that I found out after the movie. So if you want to ask him a question about Godzilla or the movies or the sounds, let us know. So thanks so much for watching. This is David the Smash Fan.
Mr.
And this is Chibi no Podcast.